Hello everyone, especially to our lecturer, Sir Freddy Tibor Gemao Jr. Thank you, sir, for this opportunity, and this will be a noteworthy experience. And to those who didn't know me yet, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Marcanet P. Galpo. I earned my bachelor's degree, major in general education at Palawan State University Rojas Campus, and graduated last April 2019. I successfully passed the licensure examination for teachers at the same year. I am currently working in Paglaom Elementary School as substitute teacher. And I am so glad to have you today, and I hope you're doing good and safe. I am here to discuss about sociological and anthropological foundation of education. But before that, these are the things that you need to do while I'm discussing. So first, focus on the key points. Second, be attentive but relaxed. Third, take note important details. Fourth, get mentally prepared and get away from distractions. And fifth, don't stress yourself, just enjoy learning. So with that, I'm going to give you 5 questions that you're going to answer after our discussion. Okay, to start with, number 1 question: why do you think relationship of the school and community is important? Number 2 question: how are culture and society related? Number 3 question: what is significance and function of language? Number 4 question: what is importance of writing and civilization? And last, what is the relation of writing to language? So okay, I hope everyone is ready. Now let us know more about sociological and anthropological foundation of education. Introduction. The components in the educative process are the learner, the teaching-learning process, the teacher, and the policymaker, and the most important of this is the learner who occupies the center stage in the educational system. Foundation is a base upon which any structure or system stands. A strong foundation makes the structure or a system firmly established and strong enough to be able to serve its purpose. Sociology. Terms that indicate group actions are used here, such as cooperate, teamwork, sociable, and conflict. Sociology also deals with the study of human beings living in groups, of how people act and interact under different social situations, and how they can relate themselves to one social situation, and also on how people relate themselves to one another. So next we have anthropology. Anthropology is the study of civilization and cultures of people with their origins, customs, traditions, beliefs, mores, folkways, and practices. This is also include languages, form of writings, tools and weapons, buildings, and other physical structures. Anthropology was derived from the Greek word anthro, meaning man, and logy, meaning science. The literal meaning of anthropology is the science of man, and it is the study of mankind. Anthropology also studies man as a member of the animal kingdom and studies his behavior as a member of society. Man is unique in the animal kingdom because he walks erect. Second, he uses his hands for handling, and he has more complex brain than animals. Okay. Next, he is also unique in the field of behavior for the following reasons. First, he possesses tools and other material and artifacts. Second, he has complex techniques for getting and preparing food. Third, he has a social and political organization. Fourth, He has a system of religious belief and rituals. And fifth, he communicates by means of language. Okay, next, let us know more about the social nature of education. First, we have teachers and staff. Children must be happy at school. There should be an atmosphere of love and joy, a real sense of community. If children feel safe and happy in school, then the environment is conducive for learning. It is the teachers who create this atmosphere. Teachers and staff are the keys to education. There is no substitute for a great teacher in the world of education. Even the most outstanding curriculum, designed and state-of-the-art facilities cannot override the importance of an outstanding teacher. Okay, next we have school. It is essential that all those involved in the education of young minds are conservant with the latest educational research and pedagogical trends. It is imperative that a school has a strong sense of vision and purpose. This identify should be driven by the mission of the school and be articulated through clearly identified student learning outcomes. It is the philosophy and identity that makes a school distinctive. Okay, next we have community. The essential point is that all staff, students, and parents understand the philosophy that underpins the nature and purpose of their school. An outstanding school cultivates its relationship with its parental body and ensure that parents and teachers work together to ensure for the best students. Effective communications are important. If heart speaks to heart, then the chances of school producing outstanding young people for the future of their world is more likely. So next we have learner. Our children today are entering a world of work that is very different from the one known to their parents. It is therefore essential that children are given opportunities to be creative, to think critically, to work collaboratively, and to grow to love learners. Okay, next, let us know about social instructions and influences of education. Effective teachers know that when students are engaged in active learning, they can learn more, retain it longer, apply it better, and continue to learn by Wimmer on 1993. One way to promote such learning is using innovative classrooms activities that lead students to understand, interpret, and to apply information. In the spirit, education in the field of communication have developed an array of activities and demonstration for promoting active learning and students of and social influence. Okay, for the social influence, first we have teaching specific theories of persuasion. The goal of this exercise is to illustrate the components of the Extended Parallel Process Model or the EPPM, which describe how fear appeals function persuasively, and to demonstrate how this model can be used to guide health and disease prevention campaigns. In addition to identifying concepts from the model that appear in the stimulus material, the students analyze the material and discuss their effectiveness. Instructions for debriefing students and for obtaining the stimulus videos and brochures are provided. Okay, next is persuasive language. The purpose of this activity is to build awareness of the powerful and powerless speech, to demonstrate the impact of such speech on the evaluation of sources and effectiveness of messages, and to eliminate the use of powerless speech from students' communication. Students listen to speakers using powerful and powerless. Example, language containing or not containing hesitations, tag questions, and hedges, and the rate dimension of the speaker's credibility. Okay, next we have motivated sequence. The sequence lists 5 steps. We have attention, need, satisfaction, visualization, and action. The goal of this exercise is to get students involved on the emotional and academic level. Motivated sequence is also a blueprint for designing persuasive presentations and is a staple in public speaking and persuasive speaking textbooks and courses in the field of communication. So next we have using, identifying, and analyzing logical and emotional appeals. The process requires students to define a problem and objectives, choose appropriate influence channels, create materials and messages, and to implement plans and to evaluate the campaigns. Okay, next we have audience analysis and adaptation. The goal of this exercise is to teach students to analyze audience and to create messages in a way to capture the interest of various audiences. In the activity, the students view a commercial targeted at the particular audience. Next, they rewrite the commercial with a different audience in mind. Okay, using films, television, and music to teach social influence. In this activity, students give a presentation in which they play and analyze a protest song. The author provides websites and materials where students can locate songs. Ideas for debriefing and appraisal are provided. Okay, next, we have influences of education. First, we have no poverty. And we have a tagline, no poverty, and poverty in all its forms everywhere. Education is one of the most effective ways to reduce poverty. Because according to UNESCO, 171 million people could be lifted out of the poverty. A 12% drop in global poverty. And if all students in low-income countries left school with a basic reading skill. Okay, number 2, we have no hunger. And we have a tagline, hunger and hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. There's a strong evidence that a mother education improves her children's nutrition, especially as she seeks higher level of schooling. If all mothers in the countries had a primary education, 1.7 million children would be saved from stunting. If those mothers had a secondary education, 1.2 million children would be saved from stunting. Okay, third, we have good health, and we have a tagline, good health ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Better educated people are much less vulnerable to health risks. Do you believe in that? Yes, you must. When mothers in particular are educated, even the most primary level, they are more likely to be well informed about various diseases and take steps to prevent them. Okay, fourth, we have quality education. Education equips learners of all ages with the skills and the values needed to be responsible global citizens, such as respect for human rights, gender equality, and environmental sustainability. Investing in and strengthening the country's education sector is the key to the development of any country and its people. Fifth, we have gender equality. We also know that as the gap between the number of girls and boys narrows, so too do gender disparities in wages and employment. Gender equality achieves gender equality and empower all women and girls. And that education enables girls and women to reach their full potential and parity with men and boys in their homes, communities, workplaces, and institutions of influence. Okay, number 6, we have clean water and sanitation. Clean water and sanitation ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. As communities become better and educated about links between their sanitation and health, they see substantial improvement and sanitation. In many societies, girls can spend as many as 15 hours per week fetching water for their families, leave no time for school. Similarly, without access to safe sanitation, there are many more sick children who will miss school. Okay, next we have renewable energy. Clean energy ensures access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Like education, clean and accessible energy is an essential building block of country's social, economic, and environmental development. Experience suggests that educated citizens will likely be more inclined to recognize and adopt new practices and technologies that will help them and their communities prosper. And with education, those citizens will be positioned to build and maintain energy infrastructures that will sustain their countries for a long time to come. Okay, next we have good jobs and economic growth. Good jobs and economic growth promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. With that, education is one of the strongest drivers of economic progress and prosperity. Studies also shown that each additional year of schooling raises average annual gross and domestic product. Okay, number 9, we have innovation and infrastructure. Infrastructure build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. And with education, countries have a greater capacity to assemble and maintain the physical building block of progress, health, and security. Well-planned and operating infrastructure itself enables more children to get the educational opportunities they need. Better infrastructure makes it possible for children, particularly in remote areas that have few developed roads or other reliable means of transportation, to go to school conveniently and quickly. Okay, next we have reduce inequalities. Inequalities reduce inequality within among countries, and with that, as more children from across the demographic and geographic and cultural spectrum become educated, we are likely to see an improvement in countries' income inequality. With a better education, people from traditionally disadvantaged communities are better positioned to advocate for their own right and need, gain entry into higher echelons of economic, social, and civic life, and help narrow gaps of inequality across their societies. Okay, 11, we have sustainable cities and communities. Sustainable cities and communities make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And with education, people are more likely than not to understand, support, and craft creative solutions that ensure the basic ingredients of sustainable cities and communities are in place. Good urban planning, efficient energy use, good water sanitation management, social inclusion, and other elements of well-working communities require people with knowledge and skills that are only available through quality education. Okay, 13, 14, and 15, we have a climate action, life below water, and life on land. Okay, first, protect the planet. Take urgent action to combat climate change and its impact. Second, life below water. Conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. Life on land. Protect, restore, and promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems, sustainably manage forests, combat desertification, and halt and reverse land degradation and halt biodiversity loss. With higher level of education, people across many different societies show greater concern about the well-being of the environment. Okay, next we have partnerships for the goal. When the most important players work together, we see greater efficiencies and impact with the available resources, and we see real progress in countries that are hungry to bring quality education to their children and move ever closer to the global goal of education for all. Okay, I know that you are eager to know more about the education and the process of stratification. And the question is, what is the social stratification? Social stratification always takes place in a society. There can be no social stratification without society. Hence, there is a need to define society first before explaining the meaning of social stratification. Now, let us define society. A society is an organized group of people. A society is the people occupy a portion of territory. Letter C, the people show a distinct and continuous way of life with a comprehensive whole. And the people perpetuate their group by sexual reproduction. And E, the people think of themselves as a distinct group who common sentiments and loyalties, and the individual under certain circumstances sacrifices himself for the good of the group. Now let us know the meaning of social stratification. Social stratification in democratic country like here in the Philippines is not very rigid. Social stratification is the division of society into different hierarchical classes of people according to criteria. The scale of division is from the highest to lowest class. Classification is loose and based merely in general perception of the people. The classes do not have any district nor clear-cut division, and the people are merely divided according to the socio-economic criteria, which were having any definite limits and boundaries. Determinants of social status or class. There are some determinants of social status, some of which are the following, arranged from highest to lowest. And occupational and income sale. Occupational and income sale, those are the owners and the high officials of big business enterprises, high government officials, professionals who have gained notable expertise, and prestige superstars on the show. Business amounts of income are very high. It is also belongs to the lower official, employees, and skilled worker, and semi-employed. Okay, now for education. For our education, we have a graduates from post-collegiate courses such as a graduate in medicine and law. Second, we have college graduates. Third, we have high school graduates. Fourth, we have elementary graduates. And fifth, we have primary graduates. And last, below primary schooling. And letter C, we have our type. For the our type, we have excellent houses, very good houses, average houses, fair houses, poor houses, and very poor houses. Okay, dwelling area. For the dwelling area, we have very affluent. Very affluent, these are the first class of divisions with well-paved streets and sanitary. Usually residences of very rich people. Lots are very costly. And second, we have affluent. These are also good subdivision but not as good as the first class subdivision. The residents are also rich and the lots are also costly. And third, we have fairly affluent. This may or may not be subdivision but places district by themselves and good enough for people to go about their daily chores in peace. And fourth, not affluent. These are the dwelling places of the great majority of the common people. Most of the residents are not well to do but not so poor, and they can still manage to lead an ordinary life. And fifth, we have poor. Most of the people here are poor and there is a great need for improvement, but the resident can still manage to lead a livable life. And sixth, very poor. These are places where our people are very poor and can hardly manage to live. These are the slum areas where the living quarters of the families are so close to each other that there is hardly space to move about. Okay, next is social mobility. Social mobility is the case by which people move from one social class to another. In the Philippines, since there is no law impeding the changing of one social class, there are several opportunities of improving one's social class. Effect of social stratification on learning. Social stratification has a certain effect upon learning. These are follows by Bustos and Espiritu, page 51. This is due to the belief of the family that since it cannot afford to send its children to higher institution of learning, it is enough that the children are able to read and write. This is the effect of the low socio-economic status of the family. So first, we have children belonging to a poor disadvantaged family and do not aspire much for a higher education. Okay, second, the children coming from a lower class families have a very little exposure to the influence of mass media such as newspapers, magazines, books, and other learning materials, radio, and television. Students coming from prestigious schools also achieve higher than those coming from disadvantaged or unprivileged schools. In most cases, the educational attainment of a child matches the socio-economic status of his family. However, in the Philippines, more and more children coming from lower-class families are attaining higher education. This is to the desire of the parents to save the children from undergoing the same hardship that the former have experienced. Since education is an important means of achieving social and occupational mobility, parents utilize every possible means to institutions learning. The schools as an organization. From the sociological perspective, the educational system is an administrative organization, embodying various factors and forces. Because of this, as well as the school is a place where the students are educated, it is also a social organization where the people come together to achieve a certain goals. School is an organization having a certain place which consistently incorporates new members, students, and teachers, and conducts the educational and instructional activities in an organized and systematical way. The school is one of the school organizations founded by the society to meet the educational needs and maintain an educational activities. In other words, the school is an organization by which educational activities are conducted regularly and continually. Based on mass brief on 1983, similar to other organizations, the school is an organization having a certain place which consistently incorporates new members, that is, the student and teachers, and conduct the educational and instructional activities in an organized and systematical way. And based on Hunt on 1972, the school is one of the social organizations founded by the society to meet the educational needs and to maintain the educational activities. Okay, we have Broom and Selznick on 1976. 1963. As educational organization, the school provides the students to gain knowledge, ability, and attitude in accordance with the aim and principles of the educational system. The school is a social organization on its own as well as it can be handled within the context of relations and its place within the society. Within this context, the rules of teachers and students, authority, relations, and disciplinary in the school are important. Werner on 2013. The Teachers' Union of the teachers and the students in the school and the forces like political parties, association, groups of economy, religious communities, science and scientific organization out of the school affect the school and the education in a direct or indirect way. Togen in 2011. The classroom are learning areas to meet the social learning needs rather than individuality. As collective learning environments, the classroom are the areas where the students' behaviors are harmonized. Based on Yalaret in 2001, the students and society needs and knowledge has been an important factor on the constitution and development of the school. On one hand, the growing bureaucracy of educational system, on other hand, the needs of getting maximum output from the educational institution have caused the rise of the school management as a specific discipline. The society expects and asks the school to make the students adapted to the society and also develop. The society affects the school and the school affects the society by its outcomes. Based on Yelkin on 1967, the school is a distinctive association aiming at the providing balance within the society, raising people understanding, explaining the knowledge, and in the old period that the writing press and the technique had not been improved, the schools were regarded as the institution where the teachers do teaching. Now, let us know more about formal school statuses and rules. First, we need to define status. Status is a position within a certain environment, and rule is the responsibilities within a certain position. Rule is a function or the duty that an individual must perform on account of his position in society. A rule may be obligatory or cultural. An obligatory rule is assigned to a person because of the nature of his position. For instance, a teacher rule is to teach because that is he is employed for. Next, we have social status. Social status is the social class to which one belongs. It is the class into which the socio-economic standing fits. Social status may be ascribed or achieved. So first, we have ascribed status. Ascribed status, if one is born into a rich family, then he belongs to the rich class. If he is born into a poor family, then he belongs to a poor class. Okay, achieved status. Achieved status, example, Nora Honor climbed the social ladder through her singing talent and acting ability, coupled with hard work. And Vilma Santos rose from obscurity to prominence through her acting ability and hard work too. Achieved status is earned or acquired by means of a talent and effort making capacity of an individual or by force of circumstance. Now let us know the rules and the system. First, we have needed to perform tasks and meet goals of the system. Second, specific requirements are written out. Third, rule expectation held by decision makers affect the selection of person for particular position. School organization and rules. Teachers have a great deal of flexibility in how they implement the curriculum given to them. For the school and organization and rules, we have curriculum, staffing, budgeting, supplies, construction, and maintenance. Rules, expectations, and conflict. Okay, first we have the expectation of principals, teachers, school counselors, and others vastly differ depending on your position and the organization. Second, school functions smoothly when people agree on the role expectation. Third, open, ambiguous, sometimes contradictory, and universally shared goals create confusion and conflict within a school. And last, rule conflict occurs when our own rule expectation conflict with expectation of others. Now let us know about the informal system and the hidden curriculum. Hidden curriculum. The hidden curriculum concept is based on the recognition that students absorb lessons in school that may or may not be part of the formal course of study. For example, how they should interact with peers, teachers, and other adults, and also how they should perceive different races, groups, or classes of people, or what ideas and behaviors are considered acceptable or unacceptable. Hidden curriculum also refers to the unwritten, unofficial, and open-ended lessons, values, and perspective that students learn in school. Hidden curriculum is described as hidden because it is usually unacknowledged or unexamined by students, educators, and the wider community. It should be noted that a hidden curriculum can reinforce the lesson of the formal curriculum, or it can be contradict the formal curriculum, revealing hypocrisies or the inconsistencies between a school's stated mission, values, and conviction, and what students experience and learn while they are in school. Cultural expectations. Cultural expectation is the academic, the social, and the behavioral expectation established by schools and educators communicate messages to students. For example, one teacher may give tough assignment and expect all students to do well on those assignments, while another teacher may give comparatively easy assignments and habitually award all students passing grades even when their work quality is low. Cultural values. Cultural values is the values promoted by schools, educators, and peer groups such as cliques. May also convey hidden messages. For example, some schools may expect and reward conformity while punishing non-conformity, whereas other schools might celebrate and even encourage non-conformity. In one school, students may learn that behaviors such as following the rules, acting unexpected ways, and do not questioning adults are rewarded, while in other schools, students learn that personal expression, taking initiative, or questioning authority are valued and rewarded behaviors. Okay, next is cultural perspectives. This is how schools recognize, integrate, or honor diversity, and multicultural perspectives may convey both intentional and unintended messages. For example, some schools may expect recently arrived immigrant students and their families to assimilate into American culture. For example, by requiring the student to speak English in school at all times, or by providing translated and informational material or other specialized assistance. Curricular topics may also open, intersect, or be influenced by political and ideological or moral differences that are broadly continuous. teaching evolution in science courses, multiculturalism in social studies, or sex education and health courses. Curricular topics are the subject that teachers choose for courses, and lesson may be conveyed different ideological, cultural, or ethical messages. Teaching strategies. Teaching strategies is the way that the school and teachers choose to educate the student can convey both intentional and unintended messages. For example, the skills such as critical thinking and problem solving, and attributes such as persistence, resourcefulness, and self-motivation are valued and important. Now, we have the school structures. School structure is the way that the school or academic program is organized and operated can convey messages to students. Institutional rules. Institutional rules is the formal rules in the school may communicate a wide variety of intentional and unintentional messages to the students. For example, some schools are required students to wear school uniforms. Some ban certain type of attire. Shorts, skirts, clothing with images and language considered to be inappropriate. And others have very liberal or permissive clothing policies. Okay, we have educational system and environment. The framework of addressing environment in education. Education equips peoples and society within the skills, knowledge, and perspective to live in an ever-changing world. Improving access to quality education is a key element of poverty reduction. Education is a key element in combating poverty, empowering women, promoting human rights and democracy, protecting the environment, and controlling population growth. Receiving an education is one of the surest means by which individuals can improve both their livelihood and well-being. Second, we have linking the environment in education. For linking the environment in education, we have environmental issues. First, we have degraded environments. Second, we have environmental health. Third, environmental issue is the school construction. Fourth, water and sanitation. Fifth, environmental education. And last, we have education and resource rights. Okay, third, opportunities for positive action and environment and education. Development education for sustainable development doesn't just apply to developing countries. It is to promote the peace and democracy and to safeguard human rights and require action at the local and global levels. And for that, we have a global perspective. Positive actions to mainstream the environment and the education sector. First, we need to safeguard the environment. Second, raise awareness of the importance of the environment for sustainable livelihoods and ensure education for sustainable development. Opportunities to mainstream the environment in the education sector include engaging in dialogue with other donors and government on the importance of environment in the education sector, understanding and raising awareness of environmental issues which affect school attendance and recommend action to supporting efforts to include quality environmental education in teacher training curricula. This is making sure that the schools are built in an environmentally sensitive way and encourage the inclusion of the wild areas and natural spaces for learning, and encouraging the use of educational tools to increase awareness of the value of the environment and ecosystem services. And next, we have making sure that the school have appropriate sanitation and water facilities for boys and girls. Culture and education. Different meanings come to mind when the word culture. A person who is refined in manners and speech is also said to be cultured individual. A descendant of a line of ladies and gentlemen, or a nobility who was wealth and to be do not need to work is cultured. One who observes the rules of etiquette is cultured. Now let us know more about how are culture and society related. What are the kinds and forms and components of culture? According to Dressler, through culture, therefore, people learn to communicate with each other and to think and to behave in a certain ways to approve by the group. Culture is a social heritage transmitted from one generation to another and shared. It is consist of some total of skill, belief, knowledge, and products that are commonly shared by a number of people and transmitted to their. And according to Smith, Stanley, and Shores, culture is a fabric of ideas, beliefs, skills, tools, aesthetic objects, methods of thinking, customs, and institutions into which each member of society is born. Culture is that part of the environment which man himself has made. And according to Bertrand, he defines culture as the complex whole which includes the knowledge, beliefs, arts, morals, law, customs, and other capabilities gained by man as a member. Classification of culture. Culture may be classified as static or dynamic. It is static when it emphasizes cultural transmission. The same culture is passed on from generation to generation. It is dynamic when emphasized changes through revision with each generation. Culture may be classified as stable or unstable. The culture is stable where folkways and mores are satisfying new elements and traits are incorporated smoothly without conflict. In a stable culture, the more educated individual, the more conservative he becomes. Okay, how would you classify our culture? Culture may be material or non-material. Material culture consists of tangible things, houses, clothing, tools, utensils, automobiles, and TV. Non-material culture refers to what is symbolic or intangible such as sentiments, folkways, mores, systems, and beliefs, and for example, the way of greeting. For Americans, they do shake hands. For Latin Americans, they do embrace Eskimos and touch noses. For Thai, they put hands together. And for the Japanese, they do bow or they bow deeply. For Filipino, young or old, they kiss hand or pagmamano. Okay, examples of non-material culture are follows. Folkways are traditional ways of doing things in a certain culture. An Igorot folkway is for a boy to sleep in a hollow with the girl he is courting. An example of folkway in the Philippines is pamamanhikan. Pamamanhikan is where the parents of the boy asked for the girl's hand in marriage. Custom. Custom means habitual practice. It is the custom in the Philippines to invite a guest to partake a meal if he happens to in the house at mealtime. Another custom is for children to kiss the hand of their grandparents. Beliefs. What is beliefs? Beliefs are also part of non-material culture. In India, some walk on live ghosts or lie in a bed of nails and come out unscathed according to their belief. In Pampanga, every Good Friday, a man himself nailed to the cross in the belief that no harm would come to him and nothing bad. Functions of culture. Every culture provides the knowledge and skills needed for its survival. Through the culture, people identify with others and feel a sense of belonging. Culture is important and useful in many ways. Through culture, Communication is possible by means of a language that is learned. People belonging to the same culture can anticipate how others may respond to their actions. The culture provides standards for differentiating right and wrong, beautiful and ugly, tragic and humorous, safe and dangerous, reasonable and unreasonable. Okay, what are the characteristics of a culture? They are, first, only human society possess culture. Second, human cultures vary considerably although they resemble each other in some respects. Third, culture tends to persist once learned and accepted. Fourth, culture changes gradually and continuously. Fifth, culture exists in minds of men who learned it from previous generations and who use it to guide their conduct with others. And sixth, there is a tendency to borrow from other cultures. 7. Members of a culture may behave differently as in the case of those who belong to subcultures. Example, Ilocanos may behave differently from Visayans although they are both Filipinos. Number 8. No person can escape entirely from his culture. Okay, another authority gives the following set of characteristics. Number 1. Culture is concerned with actions, ideas, and artifacts which individuals learn, share, and value. Others call this organized group behavior an institution. Example, English talking afternoon tea, mesa de gallo, that is, during dawn masses or before Christmas. Okay, number 2, culture may be regarded as the historical phenomenon originating through innovation and spread by diffusion. Example, association of candles with religion, carrying candles during processions. Okay, number 3, culture may be regarded as regional phenomenon or geographic or locality distribution. Example, drinking coffee, smoking, which is originated with American Indians and spread throughout the world. Okay, number 4, culture tends to be patterned, reputation of similar approved behavior so that it has a form of structure, specific way of behaving in a certain culture. Example, making the sign of the cross when passing a church. Okay, number 5, cultural elements have a function. Example of that, social status enhanced by owning a car. Number 6, culture tends to be integrated, unity of premises, values, and goals. The best example for that is the meaning of fiesta or patron saint. Culture is valid through extent that the local way of life is well defined, homogeneous, and stable. Yet variation may occur such as subcultures. Certain weddings practices may exist only in certain regions. Number 8, culture is a continuum, passed from the individual to individual, from generation to generation. Concept of society. Culture is created by society which approves its system of values. It also includes a system of intermediate values that implements the ultimate values. Society, however, does not mean just a total sum of its people. To survive, society needs to perform certain basic needs such as law and order, transportation, agriculture, and industrial system. Relation between culture and society. There can be no culture without society, and there can be no society without culture. Society is composed of people. Culture consists of things people have learned to do, to behave, and to enjoy. Both society and culture have common elements, but the two are not identical. Personality and characteristic in relation to culture. Development of his personality is influenced by his capacity to learn. need to interact with others, ability to select, to create, to make individual decisions in relation to the cultural and social milieu. Character is sometimes used interchangeably with personality. Character, however, refers more to moral qualities or ethical standards. Okay, for the educational implications, first we have culture differ, and one should not judge another culture by using his own culture as basis. Second, to avoid prejudices, there should be more contact between cultures. And third, travel, education, and reading about other societies are ways of bringing out the tolerance and understanding between nations. And fourth, with more diffusion between cultures, one global society may result. And sixth, society can be improved by improving the culture. Since culture is made by man himself, he should develop worthwhile values and without beliefs, more superstitious, that are detrimental to progress. And 8. Since culture is learned, the socials should inculcate in the young good aspect of the culture. Number 9. Since the culture changes, the change should be for the better, and society should decide what those changes should be. And 10. The home, the school, and the church should guard against borrowing from the other culture things that are against the Filipino way of life. Now let's define language and writing. Definition of language. According to Kissing, language is a vocal symbolism of speech, with its related bodily gestures and mechanical signals which give precision to communicate. And according to Bills and Hosier, defines language as a way of speaking, distinct in every culture. Herskovich, language is a system of arbitrary vocal symbols by which members of the social group cooperate and interact. Antiquity of language. The universality and diversity of language prove it is a very old, for language develops slowly. Similarities in vocabulary and grammar show a common origin. The differences in the modern languages have must taken a long time to develop. That's why language is needed to understand a society and its people and the rule of language and their lives. Significance and function of language. Language is a form of learned behavior by which people communicate with each other. This function is probably one of the most important. Language is very important. Why? Because without language, knowledge could have been maintained and accumulated. Man has able to devise, continue and change a great variety of cultural institutions of material and non-material nature through language. Elements of language. According to Herskovits, every language has three parts, which are: first, phonemic system consisting of sounds; second, combination of sounds and units that have distinct significance or the vocabulary; third, combination and recombination of number two into large units, that is, grammar. According to Kotak, he gives the following parts. First, the phonology. Phonology is study of sounds in human speech. And second, the grammar. Arrangement of sounds into longer sequence of speech or longer utterances. And third, lexicon. Lexicon is the vocabulary or the meaning system of the language. Importance of the study of language. Language should be studied as it is as aspect of culture and differentiates man from animals. It should be used correctly as it is criterion that differences the educated from uneducated. Writing, according to Bill and Hosier, is a set of techniques for the graphic presentation of speech. And according to him, he also defines writing as a roundabout speech or mechanical gesture, a series of graphic symbols or a symbol of symbols, which holds and store information more or less permanently according to the medium apart from the individual who are in communication. Invention of writing. Writing is more recent invention than language, while language appeared more than 1,000,000 years ago. That is when man first acquired the rudiments of culture. Writing was invented more than once in several places. The earliest invention was in Egypt, probably in Bronze Age. This spread to Europe and Asia and underwent many changes. Development of writing. Writing perhaps originated from drawing, which was as much part of culture as language. Conventionalized pictographs may be regarded as the earliest form of writing. In fact, the lifestyle of primitive people was gleaned from the pictures drawn on the walls of their caves and dwellings. True writing perhaps began when conventionalized graphic symbols became associated with the sound of a language. Alphabetic writing. Alphabetic writing is further refinement of phonographic symbolism, whereby a character becomes attached to a phoneme that conveys appropriate meaning. Example, peer, pair, parent. Nations are credited with the invention of the alphabet, where they substituted consonants for the 24 characters. The Greeks added vowels in place of the consonants they did not need. From the Greeks, the complete alphabet spread to Rome and to other European countries. This is the alphabet that we are using now. Relation of writing to language. Language is a complex of patterns that govern or control speech, while writing is the written symbol of speech. Importance of writing. Writing is essential to the highly complex civilization today. It makes possible long-distance communication. It is a means of keeping records and preserving them for posterity. It is vital to the system of education, research, and to the world culture. It is why scientists consider the invention of writing as the beginning of true civilization. However, learning, literacy, and education became widely spread only with the invention of the printing press. Filipino values and education. As Filipinos, we are all known for good characteristics. When we were still small, we are taught by our parents to give respect to elders, love our brothers, sisters, and family, have faith in God, and always be kind to others. However, in our generation today, these traits are slowly fading. That's why it is important to practice values in schools among students. The educational institute of the country plays a big contribution in promoting values education for students to construct a good character. That is through promoting values education in school, we can create a better country for the future generation through lessening the negative attributes by teaching values. Best Filipino values that we have. National strength can only be built on the character, said by our late President Manuel L. Quezon in his speech. Indeed, he is right that the strength of a nation can only be built through well-rounded, disciplined, and patriotic countrymen. First, we have hospitality. Hospitality is one of the most popular traits obtained by Filipinos. Filipinos are known to be kind to the visitors and gave them a friendly and warm treatment. Second, respectful. We Filipinos are respectful. Respect is one of the major values practiced since we were children. An example of that is mano, which is when the young ones put the elder's hand on their forehead, also by saying po and op. Family-oriented. When it comes to family, Filipinos are one of the billions of people who value their family the most. They have a strong bond with their families that have been observed all through the years. Religious. Through years, Filipinos have been one of the greatest devotees of patrons and saints. Christianity had dominated the country ever since the Spanish colony came to the country. Filipinos showed great faith and devotion to God from generation to another. Generous and helpful. Filipinos are very generous. Even when they have a very little, they always share what they have. Strong and resilient. The Filipinos are one of the strongest people. Even though how many tragedies or calamities they have faced, they are still strong and they have always stand up no matter what. Through self-discipline, we shall harness all our energies so that our power, spreading over the length and breadth of this land, will develop its resources, advance its culture, secure social justice, give voices to the nation, and ensure happiness and contentment for all the people under the aegis of liberty and peace. That is by Manuel L. Quezon. Multiculturalism and globalization. Multicultural education refers to any form of education or teaching that incorporates the histories, texts, values, beliefs, perspective of people from different cultural backgrounds. At the classroom level, for example, teachers may not modify or incorporate lessons to reflect the cultural diversity of the students in a particular class. The following are few representative ways in which multicultural education may play out in school. First, learning content. Text and learning materials may include multiple cultural perspectives and references. For example, a lesson on colonialism in North America might address different cultural perspectives, such as those of the European settlers, indigenous Americans, and African slaves. Student cultures. Student cultures, teachers and other educators may learn about the cultural background of students in a school, and then intentionally incorporate learning, experience, and content relevant to their personal culture, perspective, and heritage. Critical analysis. Critical analysis educators may intentionally scrutinize learning materials to identify potentially prejudicial and based material. Both educators and students might analyze their own cultural assumption and then discuss how learning materials, teaching practices, or schools' policies reflect cultural bias and how they could be changed to eliminate bias. Resource allocation. Multicultural education is generally predicated on the principle of equity, that allocation and distribution of educational resources, programs, and learning experiences should be based on the need and fairness rather than strict equality. For example, students who are not proficient in English language may learn in bilingual settings and read bilingual texts, and they may receive comparatively more instructional support than their English-speaking peers, so they do not fall behind academically, drop out of school due to the language limitations. Okay, ways in which multicultural education may intersect with efforts to improve schools. First, curriculum design. Curriculum design and teaching materials and learning experiences. The backgrounds and perspectives of previously excluded subcultures are increasingly being presented in school curriculum. In addition, there are now educational programs such as ethnic and gender studies that focus on the specific cultural groups, and school learning experiences and social justice programs maybe also encourage students to investigate and address cultural bias in their school and community. student instruction. The way that educators teach is also changing to accommodate increasing diversity in public schools. For example, students with moderate disabilities and students who are not proficient in English are increasingly being moved into regular classes rather than being taught in a separate classes, where they may receive specialized assistance but where they learn the same material as their peers. A learning assessment. Proponents of multicultural education tend to argue with one-size-fits-all approaches to assessing students' learning could disadvantage students from different cultural backgrounds. When students are not fluent in language used on a test, when assessment questions are phrased in a way that could be misinterpreted by students because the students are unfamiliar with American slang, customs, cultural references, or when a testing situation does not make sufficient accommodation for students with disabilities. Okay, teacher education. Teacher education or multicultural education has also affected the preparation of teachers beginning in the 1980s. Accrediting organizations and state departments of education started requiring teacher education program to include multicultural coursework and training. School staffing. Districts and schools are also being more intentional or proactive about hiring educators of color from diverse cultural backgrounds. While proponents of multicultural education would not claim that teachers of color are more skilled than other teachers, they are likely to argue that staffing decisions reflects a school's fundamental values and that students will benefit from having educators in room models from a wide variety of cultural backgrounds. Legislative and legal issues. Legislative and legal issues is the rise of multicultural education has also coincided with the number of legislative and court actions. Hello everyone, that ends my presentation. I hope you learned and cope something from me today. And now I am ready to entertain your questions. Just type your question below. And I know and I hope that I can answer all of that questions because now I have enough time to answer that. And stay home, stay safe, and keep learning everyone. Thank you po.